Russian missile strike has hit the Ukrainian steel plant owned by an Indian billionaire, LAKSHMI MITTAL'S ArcelorMittal. Two people have been killed and more than a dozen people have been injured in the attack. The strike forced the plant to partially suspend its operations, but that is not only part of a rapidly escalating war. Ukraine has launched one of its biggest drone attacks on Russia since the war began, striking targets near Moscow and reportedly killing at least 6 people. The Russia-Ukraine war is no longer just about battlefields. Indian industry is now caught in the line of fire. LAKSHMI Mittal's steel empire has just become the latest casualty of the Russia-Ukraine war. The attack took place on August 16th. 2 people were killed and more than 10 workers and contractors were injured in the attack. Ukrainian President Zelensky has put the total number of wounded in the Kyiv attack at 14. The company has confirmed that one of its sites was hit, and the damage was serious enough to force a partial suspension of operations. Now, this is significant for India because ArcelorMittal is not just another industrial facility. It is one of Ukraine's biggest steel producers and part of the global steel empire controlled by Indian origin billionaire LAKSHMI Mittal. The strike shows how the expanding air war is now threatening major industrial and economic assets, including those connected to Indian businesses' interest. And there is more. Russia's latest attacks have hit multiple Ukrainian cities. In Kyiv, a ballistic missile attack injured 6 people and triggered fires across the capital. And now a major fire was also destroyed and reported in large sections of the Petrovsk book market in Ukraine as well. In Zaporizhzhia, 2 people were killed after their home was hit. But while Russia pounded Ukraine from the air, Kyiv meanwhile launched a massive counterstrike deep inside Russia. Russian authorities claim that they shot down 1,478 Ukrainian drones in just 24 hours, the largest daily number they have ever reported. The claims could not be independently verified, and experts have warned that Russian figures should be treated cautiously. But the scale of the reported attacks is impossible to ignore. One of the biggest targets was a massive wild berries distribution warehouse near Moscow. The facility, spread across around 250,000 square meters, was engulfed in flames. Ukraine says that it has been targeting wild berries facilities because they are allegedly linked to Russian military logistics. Ukraine's military also claimed that it has disabled 7 of the company's 10 largest warehouses. The wild berries is also known as Russia's Amazon, and it has disrupted the supply chain across the country. And that is where the war is entering a dangerous new phase. Ukraine has dramatically expanded its long-range drone and missile capabilities. Its weapons can now strike targets hundreds, even more than 1,000 miles from the Ukrainian border. That means that the traditional front line is becoming increasingly irrelevant. NATO said that a drone that crossed into Romanian airspace appeared to be Russian. Spanish F-18 fighter operating as part of a NATO patrol shot it down. At the same time, Ukraine says that Russia launched more than 1,550 attack drones, nearly 1,560 guided bombs and 62 missiles at Ukrainian cities and communities over the past week. Ukraine's air defense can intercept many slower drones, but ballistic missiles remain a major challenge as both sides expand their ability to strike deeper into the enemy territory. The danger is no longer confined to military targets, from a steel plant to warehouses near Moscow to NATO airspace. The Russia-Ukraine war is spreading its risk across borders. As the war continues to drag on, Indian businesses are now increasingly becoming collateral damage as both sides continue to pound each other by escalating their offensive. And in a latest casualty and the collateral damage of the war is LAKSHMI Mittal's steel plant, one of Ukraine's largest steel producer, has been hit. 2 people were killed and 10 contractors were injured in the attack. The strike has also forced the plant to partially suspend its operations. But that is the only part of a rapidly escalating war. Ukraine has also launched massive counter operation, one of the largest attack of the year against Russia. Ukraine's attack was one of the biggest drone attacks on Russia since the war began, striking targets near Moscow and reportedly killing at least 6 people. The Russia-Ukraine war is no longer just about battlefields. Indian industry is now caught in the line of fire. LAKSHMI Mittal's steel empire has just become the latest casualty of the Russia-Ukraine war, and the attack took place on August 16. Ukrainian President Zelensky has put the total number of wounded in the Kyiv attack at 14. The company has also confirmed that one of its sites were hit and the damage was serious enough to force a partial suspension of operations. This is significant for India because ArcelorMittal is not just another industrial facility, it is one of Ukraine's biggest steel producer and part of the global steel empire controlled by an Indian origin billionaire LAKSHMI Mittal. The strike shows how the expanding air war is now threatening major industrial and economic assets, including those connected to Indian business interests. And there is more. Russia's latest attacks have hit multiple Ukrainian cities. In Kyiv, a ballistic missile attack injured 6 people and triggered fires across the capital. Both sides have continued to escalate their offensive. Ukraine has repeatedly targeted Wildberries warehouse in Russia as they allege that the company is being targeted because it is part of Russian military's logistics and is helping and aiding the Russian war against Ukraine. Wildberries warehouse is also known as Russia's Amazon and has disrupted supply chain across the country. More than 4 people were reported to be injured. The latest attack the Russian Defense Ministry has said that it had destroyed 822 drones overnight, with 600 directed towards the capital. Moscow does not confirm the total number of drones fired by Kyiv, but it is said to be the largest drone attack by Ukraine since the war began. The Wildberries site in Podolsk is the Moscow region, is reportedly the largest owned by the retailer. And this is not the first time that the Wildberries warehouse has come under attack. The war is now not just confined to the battlefields of Russia and Ukraine, it is now spreading over to Europe as well. NATO air defense also reported a missile from the Russian side, expanding the boundaries of the Russia-Ukraine war. And to discuss more on this, I am being joined by Major General, retired defense and geopolitical expert, Sudhakar ji. Major General, thank you so much for taking out the time and joining me on the show. Your first reaction to the latest attack on LAKSHMI Mittal's steel plant is now being targeted, another collateral damage of the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, Nancy, good afternoon. Thank you for taking me for your show. All I would say at this moment, it's very unfortunate and it's on the escalatory matrix, and the intensity and the enormity of losses will keep mounting onto either side. But Russia will continue to have the upper edge by virtue of its long distance missiles and the hypersonic ones. It can penetrate deep into Kiev as also the industrial complex of Ukraine. And Ukraine is going to suffer a lot because it's gone acutely deficient of the interceptors. Without interceptors, there is no air defense, and without air defense, it is vulnerable to be hit by Russian missiles at will and ease. And more than that, Russia, in my opinion, should be targeting the Odisha. Once the Odisha port is cut off, from Odisha port, the nearest point at which Russian troops are deployed are 56 kilometers, although open sources will show 104, 124, but actually it is 56 kilometers. It is an overnight operation. Plus, the Black Sea is dominated by Russian naval vessels. So, Odisha is cut off. Then the entry and exit point of Ukraine with the outside world will be totally cut off and it will become landlocked. So the conflict therefore would get restricted only to the Donbas region, where there are six places where Ukraine is holding out. Although Russia is making very slow advance, but ultimately sooner or later, Ukraine is going to buckle under pressure because neither USA will be able to extend the support of interceptors nor the European countries. It has to fight its own battle with the help of drones, long range, deep penetrating drones, which I suppose in due course of time, Russia should be taking effective countermeasures.
Well, that's right, Major General, but we have seen that Ukraine is increasingly targeting Russia, and it's not just on the border state, it's striking deep inside the territory. Do you think that that's a concerning development and that Russia should now think about a different strategy?
Yeah, that's what you see. The options, strategic options available to Russia are firstly to escalate with whatever they have. They are going through a huge loss of manpower. Almost 30 to 32,000 soldiers are dying, as also getting seriously injured every month. It is not an annual statistic; it's a monthly statistics. 30 to 32,000, 1.4 million soldiers have either died or they are seriously injured. They
Right.
do not have adequate youth population to move to the front line. People are not coming forward. Age between 15 to 25, they are not willing. There are not, there are far and few children of that age or the youth of that age to come forward and join in the conscript. People are leaving Russia. It is nothing very attractive and encouraging in Russia also. But North Korea has sent in almost about 15,000. They are already, as per my input and study, almost close to 50,000 troops of North Korea are already ready. They're likely to move either on road or be airlifted very soon, or maybe moving by multimodal transportation system. There are also other countries who are willing to support Russia. Now, who are these countries? I really don't know. But the manpower definitely is acute shortage in Russia. As far as the technology and the inventory is concerned, they are well off, despite the fact that they're going to cross or they're almost nearing the fifth year of the conflict, but still they're holding out, they're capable. So, strategically speaking, the options available to Russia as of today is to play some globally related strategic option
Okay.
so that Russia and the Western alliances they remain drawn in. For example, if they continue to support Iran the way they are doing, then Russia has got stalemate. America has got stalemated in West Asia. They have pulled back the naval resources to Diego Garcia, gradually pulling them back. So they have made sure that what America is doing in Ukraine, they are doing the same thing in Iran. So it's a give and take kind of a thing, not for the purpose of resolving the issues, but for the purpose of you know hegemonic power display or the strategic rivalry at the global level.
But do you think, like, just like Donald Trump, Putin has also underestimated its enemy?
Certainly not, certainly not. But to large an extent, I would say the complete conflict actually got escalated primarily because of this fine reading that you are giving.
Right.
If you recall, Putin, after he announced on 24th of February 2022 that his forces are invading into Ukraine for a special operation,
Right.
and that special operation was meant for 7 to 10 days maximum. So that statement of Putin at that point in time was based on a factor of underestimation. So it's a you're right. There is a replay of what Iran is to America. Ukraine is also to large an extent to Russia. But Russia, by virtue of its experience, time-tested experience during Second World War, and hands-on experience in different kinds of combat in Central Africa, in annexing Crimea, then they went into Georgia, Chechnya. They have been fighting all through and through. Their soldiers and the resources were applied in Syria in 2015. Thereafter, so this is one country who's been on the ball as far as the war and conflicts are concerned. They have got terrific experience. The most experienced combat experienced armed forces. However, when it comes to withstanding the challenges or the second line and the third line capability, the industrial capability is five times. Russia has got five times that of the Western and American capabilities. That is the capability of reproducing. If you compare the statistics with the Second World War and what they have now, they have been able to upgrade the capability of reproduction during wartime. This is called surge capability. But that is not enough. Machine needs men. The men are not there to fight. That is the
Correct.
biggest challenge. And more than that, Ukraine has taken recourse to deploying the robots, the robotic soldiers on ground. So fighting against the robotic soldiers on ground, against the machine, is a different ball game. Robots will behave differently. They will not get incapacitated. They don't die. They are not a kind of a logistic burden to the army. So under these circumstances, today Russia is under a back foot. That's why you would have seen the foreign minister of Russia, he's given a statement trying to pressurize America that it is USA who had given a commitment not to support Ukraine, not to support the European Union, because their support, their provision of hardware, military hardware, is only enabling Ukraine to strike targets which are at long range and deep inside Moscow. So this is unnecessarily and unfortunately going to prolong and extend the conflict, not to bring about any kind of ceasefire or lasting peace.
Thank you so much, Major General, for taking out the time and joining me on the broadcast.